What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Game Night Lounge Radio Network, and welcome to a brand new show, a brand new podcast that is just kicking off this weekend for you guys. So let me briefly just introduce myself. I am KODX Factor, a frequent guest from the GSN podcast, the Gaming Sports News podcast, which you can find on iTunes, Google Play, or whatever podcast listening application that you use. You can find us there, as well as this show. So let me introduce this show. We call it the Weekend Jump Off, or some like to call it just the Jump Off, whichever is perfectly fine with me. And let me kind of give you an explanation of what this show and what is going on with the website, so everybody can kind of have an understanding of what is going on. If you're a frequent guest of ours, if you go to our website, which is theGameNightLounge.wordpress.com, if you follow us on YouTube, we are at the Game Night Lounge. We are on Facebook at the Game Night Lounge, and we are on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is at the Game Night Lounge. So make sure you follow us through whichever social media medium you prefer. We are available everywhere. So let me kick this thing off and just kind of explain what we do here. This is going to be a weekend podcast where we're going to take about 30 to 40 minutes of your time on the weekend, just to kind of go over some gaming reviews, gaming news. If you follow us on our YouTube channel, if you don't, please make sure you do. It would be fantastic if you do. I would greatly appreciate it. Just go to the Game Night Lounge. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. We have a ton of Let's Play videos where we do all the newest and latest games that are coming out, as well as some older titles and some retro titles. So we kind of have a mixed bag. We have a review show that we tend to do. So right now we have about 3 or 4 good reviews up there for you guys to watch. We've done Far Cry 5. We have done Shadow of the Colossus. We have done A Way Out. And I think we have done Monster Hunter World, if I'm not mistaken. So make sure you check those out. But we are going to be dedicating this show right here to talk about reviews of some of the latest games that are currently out. Give you guys our in-depth opinion of what those games are like, as well as go over a couple of news topics that kind of hit a little bit close to home for us. We are extremely passionate about what we do and what we talk about. This podcast is brought to you by the Game Night Lounge Radio Network. All the guests that appear on this show will be brought to you by the Game Night Lounge Media Network as well, which will be our sponsor and our headquarters for our shows and for myself. So I'd like to welcome you guys to the Weekend Jump Off, and let's kind of kick things off here now. We are 1 week away yesterday from the release of God of War on the PlayStation 4, and I know a lot of you guys, including myself, are extremely, extremely anxious to get this particular game out. It has been talked about for a couple of years now. Debuted at E3 for Sony during Sony's press conference for the PlayStation 4, and I had to say that initially I was a little bit kind of on the fence, but I am a big fan of like Norse mythology and all that, so I was very intrigued by the direction they were going. I was kind of surprised to see Kratos in his form, but I have to say, now that the game is a week from coming out, and reviews for this game have already started to hit, and I have to say that the God of War game reviews right now have been absolutely insane. What I mean by that, I have not seen a review score below 92%. Everything has been 9, 9.5, or 10s. I have not seen anything below that, which if you average into a percentage rating, it's above 92% on average that you're seeing from a majority of review companies that do this. Now, we will be reviewing God of War. We were not one of the fortunate companies that got a advanced review copy of God of War, so we are a little bit bummed by that. But when we do get the copy in our possession, we will be doing Let's Play videos as well as a review for the game. So make sure you stay tuned if you'd like to find out our opinions about it. So I would love to personally give you guys an opinion of God of War, the brand new one anyhow. But unfortunately, we can't give you an opinion just because we haven't had hands-on with it yet. We can only go by what we've seen so far, whether that's gameplay footage or trailers and stuff like that you guys have access to as well. That's all we have to go off of right now. But I have to say that the review scores that I've seen for this game have me very, very intrigued and very, very excited for what's to come down the line for God of War. So I'd like to know what you guys think about it. So I'd like to know what your thoughts are on the direction they're taking Kratos and the relationship that they're trying to build between him and his son in this game. I'm really interested to see how that dynamic plays out. I heard it based on the reviews I've read. I have heard that relationship is what makes that game very, very close to heart, and it's kind of like an emotional game as well. It kind of hits on all cylinders. Very, very action-packed, and I am really, really anxious to see what that game is all about. So I'd like to know what your thoughts are. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe to the channel, and let us know what your thoughts are on the upcoming God of War. And make sure you stay tuned to the Game Night Lounge to find out what our review score is and what our thoughts and opinion are on the game, because we are extremely passionate about what we do and what we talk about. So God of War coming next Friday. That's April the 20th to the PlayStation 4. So if you haven't already pre-ordered your copy, make sure you do. It would be something I would highly recommend. Amazon is running a 20% off promo, or I think it's 20% off. 20% off of Amazon pre-orders if you pre-order through them. So make sure that you look into doing that. We will also be doing an unboxing video for the collector's edition of that game. So make sure you stay tuned for that on Friday as well. We will have the unboxing of the Kratos statue with the sun, as well as some of the extra goodies that come in inside that box as well. So make sure you stay tuned. Moving right along, if you've been to our YouTube channel, you have seen our review for EA Originals Xbox One and PlayStation 4 game, A Way Out, which is a co-op only title, very uniquely done. If you've seen our review on YouTube, you know we have given it a 4 out of 5, or as we like to call it on the YouTube channel, is the 4 golden poopies out of 5. We do everything by the poop emojis. So, and I'd like to thank my partner Boomy for his insight into that game as well. It was a very unique game. I mean, A Way Out is one of those titles that really, really kind of left a sense of direction that I think not many games take nowadays. The fact that it's co-op only was a bigger surprise to me anyway, just because of the fact that I have not seen a co-op game done this way. Most co-op games you play are like, okay, you go do this, you go do that. If we need to work together, it's because I need you to press this button while I press this button to open this door, or you lift me up to this higher platform that I can't reach by myself, or you can't reach by yourself. That's really the extent that we've seen co-op games go in the past. Now, with The Way Out, it's kind of like a different direction. It's kind of like a movie storytelling within a small, compact video game. And why do I say that? Is because, one, the game is not very long. It's a pretty short game. I think we finished it in, 5.5 hours, I believe. 5.5, 6 hours, we completed that game. And on top of that, it's a lot of cutscenes, I should say, that you do watch as in the progression of the story. So there is a lot of gameplay to it, but there's more in the way of storytelling as far as CGI cutscenes that you have to watch to kind of advance forward. So there are a lot of cutscenes, but that's the way that this particular storytelling is done. It's done in that kind of way, and it's a really, really good story. I have to admit that the director behind A Way Out has had some experiences into some small indie films in the. I'm trying to pinpoint some movies he has done in the past, but he took this game head on and kind of made it into almost like a film project, but a playable film project, if that makes any sense. So you have these two characters. They develop these two characters into a way that that they really kind of play off of each other, share a lot of similarities, have a few differences, but they play very, very well off of each other. But the ending I'm not going to give anything away, so there are no spoilers. So don't worry about unplugging your headset or switching your car radio if you have the Bluetooth speakers in your car. We're not going to give anything away in that aspect, but I will say this: if you play the game, make sure you stay all the way through to the very, very ending. There are 2 endings. So if you're one of those that's like a completionist like we are, play for both ways. Play for both endings. Both endings tend to leave you saddened and excited all at the same time. So not one's going to give you more than the other, even though I think it kind of leans more one way than the other. Just not in a really, really big dramatic fashion. But I will say this, that it does have a surprise twist. It does have a surprise ending. And honestly, the game itself is very, very reasonably priced. It's only $29.99, which, nowadays most companies would try to put that out there for a full $59.99 value. And that game is not a $59.99 value, but it is definitely in the wheelhouse of $29.99, which it is currently priced at on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox. Now, one of the unique features about the game that, one, I didn't know offhand when I first got it, but it has a very, very unique feature because it is a co-op only game, that you can only play this with friends that you have either in the same home, on the same television, or online. There is no matchmaking. So you can't go into a lobby and say, okay, well, I'm going to wait for somebody to join my game and then we can just kind of play this game together. It is a game that you literally have to play with a friend or somebody that is on your friends list. And I know some of you were probably thinking, especially with this game, well, what if I'm the only one on my friends list that has this game and there's a friend I want to play with who doesn't own it? It's not a big deal. The way that they kind of constructed this game is they made it playable for you if you own the game and any friend you want to play with. Doesn't matter who. Any friend on your friends list you want to play with, just send them an invite from inside the game. It'll then send that player an invitation to download the trial version of the game, or a trial file as they call it, of the game. They will then download that, which is essentially the full game, but it's not like the full game for them to access anytime that they want. So then what you will do is you will then, once they've downloaded it, they will start it up, they will accept the invitation, and they will pop right into your game and be able to play the full game from beginning to end with you. You heard it right. They can play the full game with you and not have to pay for it. If the person you are playing with is one of those achievement junkies, which I have a few on my friends list and you know who you are, they will not be able to earn progression or achievements for playing if they play in that way, if they do not own the game. So if you're playing with a friend who doesn't mind that, doesn't care, just wants to kind of play it and see what it's all about with you, all they have to do is download that trial. They can play with you anytime that you play. They can't play themselves. They can't log in and then send an invite to a friend that they want to play with. You can only host a game, and you can only invite them, and they have to use that file to then play with you until they fully buy the game and own it outright. So it's a very cool way for EA to kind of implement that plan into effect to allow anybody access to play the game with you, because again, it is co-op only with anybody on your friends list that you want, even if they don't own the game. So the game gets much kudos and many points for just being able to do that. It's like I said, it's a very unique way to play. Well, I was very, very happy with it. I thought the story was fantastic. All of the guys that we have played with, I played with a couple of them already. I thought the game was really, really well done as well. Like I said, it was very, very short. And some of the things you have to do co-op wise is it's kind of like a breath of fresh air, because it makes me really, really wondering what could take place in the future for games like this. It kind of left it open for a second one later on down the line if they decide they want to go that route, or make more games or different games that kind of follow that same element. It could be very, very cool. So I'm very interested to see kind of where they go with this and this same kind of gameplay mechanic that they implemented here. I think it could be really, really cool and really, really beneficial to future titles down the line. And one of the other games that we got a chance to play over the past few weeks that not us, well, there are a bunch of people talking about it, is Sea of Thieves, which is the Xbox One exclusive game. You can play it either by buying the game for $59.99 or you can play it being a part of the Xbox Live Game Pass program. And the Game Pass program is $9.99 per month, and it is available on there. Now, Sea of Thieves is kind of a... I'm trying to look and think of the best way to possibly put this. It wasn't one of my favorite games. It had, to me, so much potential to be great, but really, really kind of fell flat on what it delivered to us. It didn't have a lot to deliver, which kind of left me a little bit frustrated because there was so much that the game could have done that it didn't bring to the table. Everybody loves the whole pirate aspect and going from an island here or an island there. You can run into other people in the world and you can either fight or become allies. You're treasure hunting and you're going to these dangerous islands where you have to fight either your way in or out. And there is a Kraken in the game that you can run into, and I played for like 3 or 4 days and not run into a Kraken in that time in that time span. It looked much later than that until you run into it. But it has some fun points to it and some really, really long and boring, drawn out points to it. There's not a whole lot to it. There's essentially treasure hunting, fighting skeletons, and other people in the world. That's all we've done the whole time we played the game. Maneuver your ship from island to island, scavenging, hunting for treasure, then bringing it back to the mainland and selling it. And everything you sell for is for cosmetic upgrades for your ship and yourself. So there's nothing really in the way of upgrades there. Everything you do is essentially just for cosmetic, the way it cosmetically looks. But what Microsoft has done over the past couple of days for Sea of Thieves, because everybody knew that Sea of Thieves was running into a drought. People were getting tired of it. People were getting a little bit, kind of getting a little bit pushed away by it, that they weren't really, really getting the full value. I mean, because at a $59.99 value, I felt kind of ripped off. And in all honesty, I think a lot of fans did too. That's why, for me, the Game Pass was kind of probably the way to go, because at that point, you're not stuck with just Sea of Thieves. You have a crap ton of titles that you can choose from to play, whereas Sea of Thieves is just one of those titles that's an option for you. So you don't feel 100% ripped off when you're playing Sea of Thieves at that point, because you didn't really pay for Sea of Thieves. You're paying for the Game Pass, which has much more to access than just that game. But there's no way in the world that I would have spent $60 on Sea of Thieves, not for what it offers right now. Now, I know that they are going to be offering some more content later on down the line. As a matter of fact, they have a new content patch getting ready to come out in May, and it'll stretch out over the course of the summer. And will be updated weekly with events. So they did come out to say that they will be kicking off May with the release of the content pack called Hungering Deep, which will introduce a new AI threat to the world. Don't know what that AI threat is. They won't really clarify on that. It'll be up for players to kind of go up against, so it's not just like... to me, it sounds almost like a mini boss that's going to be hidden within the game that people can journey to, go fight, get whatever loot or treasure they can, and then go back out to the open seas. That's what it sounds like to me. They did say that they will be also adding new mechanics to assist players with unique rewards to earn. And also during the summer, the new Cursed Sails event will be debuting, which will bring with it a new ship type. Which I'm kind of glad to see, because they only had 2 ships for you to choose from to start off with. They had a small ship, which could be manned by 2 people, and then they had a larger ship that could be manned by 4 people. So those are basically your two options when it came to choosing a ship for Sea of Thieves. Um, they also announced that the pets and ship capacities are going to be put on the back burner for now due to shifting priorities to get these new contents out there for players. So pets will not be in the new update. The ship capacities will not be in the new update as well. So we're unfortunately not going to get an upgrade to the ship capacity, which is, for me is okay. I didn't see much of a problem in the way the ship capacity worked out. The smaller ships, yes, 2 people. And it does take kind of 2 people to kind of get that ship going in the right direction. And then the larger ships at 4, I'm actually okay with that. As of right now, I'm okay with that. I would much rather have new content and new stuff to do in the game that kind of expands on what's already there. Because right now, like I said, it's essentially just a treasure hunting game that you go find this, bring it back, sell it, buy something cosmetic. And the cosmetic stuff is expensive. It's not like it's cheap. 1 or 2 missions can get you a cosmetic piece. You're going to have to go out and explore for a number of hours just to get one piece. So just make sure you keep that in mind when you're going out there. Now, I don't know if they dropped the price on any of the items inside the store since I've last played. I don't think they have. But just know that it's going to cost you quite a bit just to get a cosmetic piece for your ship that won't make a world of a difference when it comes to combat or anything like that. The game looks beautiful. It's fun to play for the first hour, and then kind of after that, I lost interest in it and haven't really, like, I play it sporadically. It kind of reminds me of a cell phone game. Now, I have like 3 or 4 games on my cell phone that I play periodically throughout the course of a day. I may turn it on 2 or 3 times a day and play it for 15, 20 minutes at a time. And that's between Roller Coaster Tycoon 4, The Walking Dead's No Man's Land. I have PUBG Mobile, Fortnite's on there as well. I have the Super Mario game. So games like that are games that I can go to, play for 15, 20 minutes, turn it off, and come back to it at a later time. Sea of Thieves honestly reminds me of something like that. It's a game that I can go play for 15 minutes at a time, turn it off, go play something else, or come back to it much, much later on in the day and play it again for a little while. And I don't think a console handheld game should have that. I don't think it should be of that caliber, especially not at a full price $60 value. I mean, come on. There's no reason why I should have to play Sea of Thieves for 15, 20 minutes and then come back to it later on. Because I've already done what I can. Or I'm bored at that point. That's one of the reasons why I was not the biggest fan of Sea of Thieves at all. Now, I'm sure there's probably some of you out there that love Sea of Thieves, that really, really enjoy it, that get the full aspect of playing. You play with your buddies online. That's great. And if you're having a great time with it, hey, more power to you. Everybody has different opinions when it comes to games and whether they like them or they don't. But Sea of Thieves, just for me, and a couple of my buddies and me and Boomy had reviewed this game as well, it just wasn't really for us. We had some funny moments. We had some moments that we were laughing at and we would have a pretty good time with. And if you have some buddies that you're with and you guys are all drinking and everybody comes in and kind of goes treasure hunting while they're doing that, it can be a little bit fun for a little while. But then eventually reality kind of hits. And it's like, okay, well, what are we doing? Or why are we doing this? For what purpose? What's the reasoning behind it? And that's where it loses its power. That's where it loses its steam. And I really don't think any game should be privy to that. Why? And that's why Sea of Thieves to me was not one of the greatest games that I had played this summer. Or I'll say this summer, but this spring. It was one of Microsoft's most hyped about games coming into the spring. To me, it didn't deliver. I had much more fun with A Way Out, which is a very linear game and goes from start to finish, and then that's it. I had more fun with that than I did with Sea of Thieves. So, honestly, Sea of Thieves, to me, only got like maybe a 2-star rating or a 2 brown poopy emoji rating. Just because I just didn't have that much fun with it. So unfortunately, Sea of Thieves and Rare did not deliver on what I thought had a huge amount of potential, and still does if they make a lot of changes to it. So maybe that's a game we'll revisit a year from now and see if it still lives up to what it kind of promised early on, and see if it still delivers. And really, the last game we had to talk about that we delivered a review for was last week's game. Was it? I don't know. It wasn't last week. It was the previous week. I'm sorry. Which was Far Cry 5 from Ubisoft. Now, all you Far Cry fans out there may have been a little bit put off by the last entry, which is Far Cry Primal. I am one of those. I wasn't the biggest fan of Primal. Honestly, I wasn't the hugest fan of Far Cry 4. I mean, I thought Far Cry 4 was a good game. It wasn't Far Cry 3, because Far Cry 3 to me was fantastic. And who could forget the boss? I mean, you have the main villain for Far Cry 3 as like the villain you love to hate. He had that love-hate relationship for him, and to me, I thought he was a fantastic villain, a fantastic boss. No better way you could have possibly done that. So I was extremely happy by the way that they did that. I was very happy by the way that they did Far Cry 3. Far Cry 4 was good. It wasn't Far Cry 3. Far Cry Primal just really didn't live up to any expectations that I had set for it at all. And now we have Far Cry 5, which kind of goes back to the elements of Far Cry 3, Far Cry 4. And Far Cry 5 is actually really, really good. To me, it's still not Far Cry 3, but it's better than Far Cry 4. And I love the way that they designed this game, the way that they made this game out to be. I was extremely happy about what they did. And to me, Far Cry 5 lived up to a lot of expectations that game had for it. It has a lot to go. That game has a lot going on. It has a lot going for itself. It is, the hunting missions are really there. They're back. There are 3 territories that you have to take out before you get to the final boss. Basically, the game centers around a rural area of Montana that has been overrun by this religious group that feels that what they are doing is in the name of God. But everything that they do is like complete opposite of what they talk about and what they preach. They go about preaching to everybody that they call everybody sinners, and the way for you to kind of get atone for your sins is by making it known, talking about it, living up to it, and pretty much getting rid of that sin off of you. And they have territories that are controlled by this family, by the Seed family. So you have John Seed that takes the lower southern region. You have Faith, which takes the right-hand region. And then you have Jacob, who takes the northern region. And then you have the main guy, Jonathan Seed, who is the center of the entire Montana region. And each has their own different unique territories. They have their own unique different ways that they go about getting you. And in all honesty, the way that they kind of point you in the beginning of the game is to kind of go south first. But you have the freedom to go wherever you want. You can go up north first, you can go to the right first, you can go south first. So you either go north, east, or south. Whichever one you choose is up to you, but they kind of point you a little bit in the direction of going south first. So that's the way that we went. So when we started the game, we started south. And one thing I remember about going that way is, to me, the hardest boss is in the south, and that's John Seed. You then go to the east. That's where Faith's territory at. She's the second to hardest boss for me to fight. It can kind of be a toss-up between her and John. The only thing that really made John Seed hard was the fact that you got to fight him in a plane. And I'm not the greatest at when it comes to controlling planes or dogfighting. I'm just not that person. The other ones, you all fight on the ground, pretty much regular, gun-style combat. Faith was a little bit difficult, but then you get to Jacob, who was relatively easy, and then the final boss, Jonathan Seed, was extremely easy. So the game kind of lost some thunder going down the home stretch. It started off really, really strong, got really, really good in the middle, and then started to lose some of its edge and some of its thunder towards the ending of it. I thought the game was great. It had a really, really good story. I loved the characters in it. Graphically, it was unbelievable. Some of the missions that they had you do were absolutely hilarious. But when you get to the end and you go to that final island or that final territory where John Seed is at, the game completely fell apart. And I won't say completely fell apart, but the ending really, really was a bummer. It is, and not so much because the ending just was sad or something like that. It just wasn't a good conclusion. Either way you go, and I've seen a couple of different endings for this game already. Either way you go, to me, the ending just was not very good at all. I was a little bit disappointed. I was extremely disappointed in the final sequence, in the final fight and all that. I was pretty disappointed in that. It was kind of cool, some of the things that they had you do during that fight. But in all honesty, I was a little bit disappointed by that entire sequence as a whole. The final sequence where you're, and like I said, this is spoiler free, so I'm not going to get into any details about that mission. But I will say, in the car, that whole sequence was actually pretty cool, and got pretty intense there for a little bit. But the conclusion of that was even worse. I was like, "Are you serious now? Like, are you really?" But Far Cry 3 had a really good conclusion. Far Cry 4 had a pretty good conclusion. Far Cry 5 had a better game than Far Cry 4, but Far Cry 4 had a much better ending than Far Cry 5. So it's kind of like a balancing act. I mean, you have the gameplay, you have the core of the game, which is fun. It is awesome to play, really, really cool, enjoyable. The variety of missions is astronomical. The areas that you can go to in the world seem like they're never ending. But the ending, the conclusion to the game, the main focal point of what you're trying to accomplish, felt really, really mute. I don't know, maybe that's just me. If you guys feel the same way, please let me know. If you don't, let me know your argument. Well, what about the ending left you satisfied? The ending to me left me not satisfied in the least bit. But like I said, for you, it may be a completely different experience. You may not have had the greatest experience while in the actual world itself, but the ending left you satisfied. If it did, hey, more power to you. For me, it surely did not. Now, the game is still worthy of 4 golden poops. I'm not going to knock it for that, because the ending is just, it's just the ending. How many people griped about the ending of Mass Effect 3? But the game itself was phenomenal. I mean, even me, I thought the ending of Mass Effect 3 was, to me, I felt good about it. I was fine with it. Many, many people out there were not fine with it, which is okay. But I'm not going to knock the whole game's review score because of just, the ending completely blew. But many people felt that way about Mass Effect 3. The ending was absolute trash. The game was great, but the ending was absolute trash. The game is horrible. I'm not that kind of person. I'm not that kind of review guy. The game was great. It had a lot of things going for it in a great way. The ending was trash. But doesn't mean the entire experience is not worthy of a $60 price tag. For $60, I didn't feel bad. I didn't feel ripped off. I don't think anybody else should feel ripped off by $60 value for that game either. Now, you might get a little bit disappointed in the ending, but hey, at what point in any game that we play do we not feel disappointed by something? Whether it's something small, something big. Something in every game will disappoint you in some form or fashion. It never fails. That's one thing we got to try to remember, especially when it comes to games like this. There's always going to be something that's going to leave you a little bit disappointed. Far Cry 5 for me was the ending. There are many other games that I can go to and look at. Game is great. I didn't really like that too much, but I'm not going to knock the game for that. You could tell the man hours that went into that game, and they did a great job. I'm really looking forward to some of the content that's going to come down the pipeline for this game. Why not? Who wouldn't be? The DLC looks like it's going to be phenomenal. And some of the things that they did in that game in regards to multiplayer, it's pretty intriguing. But I'm not going to get into spoiler territory. I'm not going to get into all that. But Far Cry 5, if you have not played it yet, it's worthy of a pickup. And it's definitely worthy of playing, especially if you're a fan of the Far Cry series. Like I said, I was a big fan of Far Cry 3. I was a big fan of Far Cry 4. Far Cry 5 was fantastic as well. Was not the biggest fan of Primal, but in all honesty, I don't think I'm the only one in that department. Well, that's going to do it for me here in the studio today. I am KODX Factor. This is the Weekend Jump Off. We are talking reviews today. We had talked about A Way Out. We had talked about Far Cry 5, and we had talked about Sea of Thieves. If you like what you hear, please make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. Let's talk about what we talked about here today. What are your thoughts on these games that we discussed today? What were your opinions? We have a big show coming on next week. Because you know what game comes out next week? We talked about it at the beginning of this program. God of War is going to be releasing on PS4, and we're going to have a lot to talk about. Just know that for sure. So this is the Weekend Jump Off. I am a KODX Factor. I will be back with another episode because, like I said, we got God of War on the horizon. And if you like what you see, please make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. We would greatly appreciate it. You can find us on YouTube at the Game Night Lounge. We are a part of the Game Night Lounge Radio Network. All the guests that appear on this show and on future shows are a part of the Game Night Lounge Radio Network. And until next week, I am KODX Factor. Game on, everybody.